My fascination with traditional paddling began the first time I rolled with a Greenland paddle. Since then, over the course of 2 short years, I became obsessed with Greenland rolls and built my own skin and frame kayak. This summer, I had the chance to attend the Hudson River Greenland Festival, so I packed all my gear and headed to Croton Point Park in New York. I hope to not only learn new skills, but to meet other traditional paddlers and find out how they got mixed up in the skinny stick, kayak building culture that embraces and celebrates the origin of our sport. This is a look back at our weekend out on the water, along with some of those stories.
I had a fiberglass kayak. I just fell in love with being on the water and kayaking. Saw a little flyer in the local outfitters for the first Hudson River Greenland Festival. And I was just really blown away by the art of these things. I'm a woodworker. I looked at the construction and I thought, what elegant simplicity these were. And I says, I can do that. And it sparked me to build one. So I built one, and I think it was the 3rd Hudson River Greenland Festival. I launched my first one at the Hudson River Greenland Festival. They said go, so my first paddle stroke was in the race.
How did it do?
Took 3rd place.
Wow, that's great.
That's great.
Wait, how many people were paddling?
2. No, I don't know how many. Maybe a dozen people. Maybe a dozen people.
When I was in college, I started guiding kayak trips in the summer, and my boss at Woods and Water Eco Tours, Jessie Hadley, she had a traditional paddle. And so I started using it every now and then, and I got really into it. And as a Christmas present, she bought me Dubside's ropes DVD, and I started practicing on my own, and I got relatively good at it. And it was about 2 years of doing ropes before I actually met anybody else that did it. And now it's very surreal to come to events like this and to be working with Dubside on the ropes and training people. The library at the shop, we had Dubside's rolling DVDs as well. Watch it every night after work. I was living alone in a small cabin in the middle of the woods. And I'd watch it, and then I'd go out rolling the next afternoon, and I had little helmet cam. I'd tie that to the bow of my kayak and do a few rolls, and then watch that night, and then compare it with Dubside and go, oh, I did that. So having an instructor, even just if kind of in your paddling tribe, to have someone that can say, hey, try doing this when you roll, can make all the difference in the world too. Back to the water.
Well, I was in a pool program where they were actually doing mostly whitewater kayaking, and someone knew of people who did Greenland style kayaking, so they brought in a bunch of Greenland style paddles, and they were showing us the different types of rolls that you could do and the different types of ways that they actually used kayaking. Was not just, you know, for traveling, but, you know, for hunting, you know, to support their families. And it was just so cool. They would show us the ways that people would actually roll the kayak once, even as it evolved, when they moved from harpoons to using actual firearms to hunt the seals. They would have to modify the different types of rolls. Like they would have the firearm and they would have the paddle, and then they'd bring it around so that you're not having a gun in one hand and the kayak paddle in the other and trying to figure out how to come back up if you flipped over. This is my 3rd year that I'm coming to this festival. I hope to be able to go to the one in Delmarva soon, but we'll see.
The first time I went to an event was 2001 at Delmarva. And it was so amazing to see all these people that were as fanatical about stuff as I was. This little teeny esoteric thing, but we were all on the same page. And so then I continued to go that one. I have not missed that one since 2001. There's the one in Florida now, there's one in South Carolina, there's Sticks at the West Coast, there's Michigan Training Camp. In Denmark, they had, I usually would go there and teach for a day at various clubs and businesses, kayak shops. But the one place they recently, last year, they expanded from a 1-day thing to a full weekend where people come and camp out. And it was fairly successful. They're doing it again this year. So in that sense, it's growing. You know, and Norway has been quite strong in the industry in the Greenland. But this year I was in Brazil, and I've been to Argentina. There's a strong paddling group there. So becoming a judge, it's certainly a tremendous honor that they've had me judging. But I originally in 2009 saw how much work it was to put on the competition, and I offered I could come early and help them with all the setup things that are going on. And it was the president at the time, Niels Tomassen, he said to me, well, we could use you to help with the judging. Because, you know, people that really know the ropes and the rolling maneuvers are generally people who can do them fairly well.
I had an interest in getting a kayak originally. I was looking at the traditional sort of fiberglass jobs. Pete Gangler, a fine gentleman I cycle with, said, Mark, you need to try one of these kayaks, and he lent me one. Kind of fell in love with it pretty much at that point. And then he, without too much difficulty, convinced me to come to HRGF last year. I sat down with Don Beale's group and carved a paddle, but it left me with the problem that I had a paddle, but no kayak. It was finally put together the morning before loading it up to drive down to HRGF. It performs nicely, it rolls nicely, it paddles nicely. I would guess somewhere between 100 and 200 hours.
Mike Hamilton at one of the Chesapeake Paddlers Association's events was doing some teaching on, here, let's use a skinny stick, and got me hooked with that. So.
And that was it.
And that was it. No turning back.
Yeah.
So it's a petrol, it's a stitch and glue kayak.
Yeah.
You know, it came as a kit from Chesapeake Lightcraft, and I took a class to my first time building a kayak, and it took about a week to get the frame, the forms together, and then finished it up over a winter, and had it for about a year and a half now. Started with an inflatable, then I had a plastic sea kayak, and then went to the wood one. It's very responsive. It loves to surf.
Yeah.
It's got some extra buoyancy up front, but it's still very narrow. It's only like about 20 inches beam.
20. Wow.
So I was doing lifeguarding at a local event. It was like a try a kayak day with our local shop, and Terry O'Malley, who's part of Kayak USA, was there at the Skin on Frame. And Terry's like the guy who wants to get everyone into this kind of kayak and try it out. So I sat in it, paddled around, thought it was pretty cool. And I always heard about this event called the Delmarva Paddlers Retreat, and immediately signed up to build a Skin on Frame kayak. And I've been hooked since. It's awesome seeing people get that aha moment. So being able to help somebody gain confidence or go home with something they can try and practice all summer to build their skills. But just when someone gets a roll or a balance brace or a new skill for the first time and they're just so joyous, that's the reward. And plus they teach you. So by watching your student, you're finding, you're really thinking, you're watching their body mechanics and trying to troubleshoot, well, why is this working? Why did they not come up? And it also helps you learn how to do your own skills.
In the last several years, I've been teaching at several Kayak USA events in New York and in Michigan, and representing them at big trade shows like Kentucopia in Wisconsin. Non-profit, volunteer-run organization, and the whole purpose of it is to promote and advance traditional paddling in North America. Really going to a Kayak USA event is the best way to learn a lot of these skills, and we're still working on developing Greenland ropes on the website. And some friends of mine and I, we've been working together to produce a booklet about Greenland ropes, and it's at greenlandropes.com. Get it out into the community so that people can at least be familiar with Greenland ropes, because no one knows about it yet.
So all the neoprene that's blue is paid for by Kayak USA members, and it gets used at all these different events. We have skin on frames that have either been built for Kayak USA or donated to, and they travel to each of these events so people can try them. It's a really big part of the Greenland culture, which is paying it forward. There's nobody gets paid for this. We do it volunteer based, and if you're a mentor, you still pay to come to these events. You're just, it's just part of what we do.
It was truly humbling to see how everyone over the weekend was willing to help one another. A community of paddlers eager to learn, teach, and pay it forward. You can be sure I'll be back for more next year. For now, this fall, I'll be making my way down to Delaware for the Delmarva Paddlers Retreat to see what the fuss is all about. See you there.